All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into my first official video on this new YouTube channel called Alyssa Lifts Things. When I say that, I envision that like popping across the screen, like right here, like. So maybe it will, maybe it won't. In any event, thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited to have as little or many of you who decide to tune into this as possible. The past couple months, I have been producing a podcast with my coach and friend, Kevin Can. The podcast is called Boston Strongcast. And ever since then, I've been really enjoying, putting out content and talking about powerlifting and talking about the way in which we train over at TPS and how we train in Kevin's group. But the last couple months, I have just really been thinking about what I can contribute personally to the fitness industry. A little history about myself. I am a competitive powerlifter, currently in the 72 kilo weight class in the USAPL, and I've been competing in powerlifting for over 3 years. So I started training in powerlifting in 2014, and then I did my first meet right shortly thereafter I started competing. And I've been competing ever since. And I'm currently about to start the first week of meet prep for my 7th meet. So I am, getting ready to go all in and get prepared for that meet. It's gonna be a 16-week meet prep. And yeah, so I got into fitness like many females do because I wanted to lose weight. So I originally, when I started my fitness journey, I was around 195 pounds, I want to say. It was in the middle of my junior year of college. I was a junior at Ithaca College and I wanted to lose weight. I was a competitive cheerleader at that time, so I wanted to get healthy for my sport and myself. And I lost 45 pounds that year, so I dropped down to about 150 pounds by the end of my first semester senior year. So it took me about a year, but I dropped 45 pounds. And I was stable at that weight, maybe like 5 or 10 pounds up from that for about another year. So I was 21 when I first started training in powerlifting, and at that time I was right at the top of the 72 kilo weight class. The USAPL had just switched to the IPF weight classes, so the class actually really did line up very well with my current weight at that time in late 2014, early 2015. But because I had diet mindset, I didn't understand what it meant to, compete in a weight class and get stronger at that point. I decided to diet down to the 63 kilo weight class. So that took me about 6 months to do so. I went from around 155, 158 pounds to weighing in on July 9th or 10th, 2015 at my first meet at 134.6, which is to this day my lowest body weight. I've never been able to successfully weigh in that low since that time. And so I, really was interested in competing in the 63 class long term, but every time I tried to get down to the 138s again, I would weigh in. My second meet, I weighed in at 136. My third meet, my last meet, which was my last meet at 63 kilos, I weighed in at 137.5. So every time I tried to diet down, I immediately rebounded right back up to 145, 147. This was despite constant dieting. This was despite constant hours of cardio, training really hard in the gym. My body did not want to be at that low of a body weight. But, in the back of my mind, something was always telling me, women are supposed to be small. Women are supposed to be toned and fit, and like the rest of fitness, Instagram, and Twitter, which I was heavily immersed in at the time, are showing you that you're supposed to look like. You are supposed to look like them. Couple that with the compliments from people as I started dieting down to the 63 class, wow, you look really great. What have you been doing? How have you been able to reach your fitness goals? I want to do what you're doing. This, along with something that Chelsea Savitt brought to light today about the trendiness and oversaturation of powerlifting as a strength sport, and as it grows in popularity, you know, I was starting to let it all get to my head, pretty much. So I did 3 meets as a 63, July of 2015, December of 2015, and February of 2016. So I did kind of like 3 meet preps right back to back. And then I was prepping for a meet in July 2016, the same meet that I'd done the year previously. And I decided kind of in the middle of that meet prep that I really didn't want to cut. I was gaining a lot of strength. I was putting a lot of pounds on my total, and I just didn't feel like it anymore. I was totally sick of weighing out all my food. I was sick of letting, you know, my small amount of calories that I had to eat in order to maintain even remotely close body weight to the 63 kilo class in order to be able to water cut down the last week before the meet. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was like, you know, this is not sustainable for me. My body is very clearly not enjoying this low set point that you are mentally maintaining for yourself, Alyssa. This is me speaking to myself in the third person. And so I decided probably like 8 weeks out that I wasn't going to cut. I weighed in. I still did a water cut for whatever godforsaken reason. I weighed in at 147 that day. But at the beginning of the week, I was like 152, 153, which would have been fine for this 72 kilo weight class. I don't know why I was so, you know, caught up in the number that I weighed in at. But I knew what I told myself was that the lower I weighed in, the higher my wilks would be. And I did really great that meet. So, I didn't really think anything of it. I took a 7-month hiatus off the platform. I competed in January of 2017 and May of 2017, both in the 72 kilo weight class. And at those meets, I weighed in like right up at the top, near the top of the weight class, 156, 157. Classifying myself as a 72 kilo weight class lifter for the last year and a half or so. Right now, I hover anywhere from 76 to 78 kilos in the off season as I gear up for meet prep, and I start, and I don't like to use the word tightening up my nutrition or like getting back to business, but that's what I say. But just really, utilizing food and beverage as a fuel for training rather than just a free-for-all, especially through the holidays. So usually my weight will drop back down to about 75 and a half kilos. And then from there, I'll just, slowly cut the 3 remaining kilos before meet day, which is April 28th. So that was a long blab about who I am in terms of powerlifting. But the real reason that I wanted to start this channel is just because I watch a shit ton of YouTube. Like an enormous amount of YouTube. My husband tells me that he can like tell who I'm watching based on the sound of their voice. That's how much I watch YouTube. And he doesn't watch any of the video with me. So he doesn't actually see anyone who's on screen or, watch any of the video. But he can tell, he's like, oh, is that so-and-so? Or, oh, is that person I don't like on YouTube? I'm like, yeah, babe, that's them. But all of the people that I watch on YouTube are not strength athletes, except for a very small percentage of people. And an even smaller percentage of people are female strength athletes. And honestly, and this is no shame on anyone, but even if they are female strength athletes, I don't find myself watching footage that I enjoy. I find myself, watching people who don't, work full-time or have any other obligations besides training and eating. I find myself watching people who are able to form their lives around fitness, which for, I would say, 98% of people is not, it's not relatable and it's not something that you can emulate. So for me, I work full-time in the higher education industry, and I have a husband, I have a dog, and I have a lot of other commitments outside of my athletic career. And so I wanted to start this channel because I don't see the female strength athletes rising to the top of mainstream social media like I would appreciate. And so that's why I'm starting this channel, Alyssa Lifts Things. Probably the bulk of this channel is going to be a documentation of, various meet preps, how I'm getting through training, what I'm doing in order to recover better, what I'm doing outside of the gym a little bit, but not really lifestyle stuff. So if you're looking for a lifestyle vlogger, you're probably not coming to the right place, just because my lifestyle is honestly not that interesting. And I do the same things every day. I go to work, I go to the gym, I come home, I snuggle with my husband and my dog, the end. And so, but I will touch on, I travel a lot for work, so how to travel and still maintain training and still maintain nutrition. Talking about how to cut for a meet, talking about how to figure out what meets are best for you, and just different things like that. I don't necessarily think that I'm seeing the type of content that I want on YouTube, so I'm hoping that this fills a void for some of you as well. I did want to talk about, I did mention Chelsea's post on Instagram, and I did want to talk about that for just a second, so let me pull that up. And kudos to Chelsea, because she really does emulate this type of content on Instagram that I like to see. A mix of training, a mix of food, because I am a foodie, and then just talking about issues in the industry that are important to athletes who are female, just because while the rise of female powerlifting is very prevalent right now, it is also very obvious that females are still the minority in strength sports as a whole, and then fitness as a whole. So Chelsea posted today on Instagram about different a lack of authenticity from powerlifters on social media, including claims that diet and exercise alone can get you the body composition results that you see in individuals who are using performance-enhancing drugs, aka steroids. The use of fake weights to appear as though one can lift heavy weights without any real effort. Fake transformation photos, and the appearance that one can be a lyrical genius while also being incredible at everything else by plagiarizing other people's captions. So this is very challenging because I come from a marketing background. I went to school for journalism, and in higher education I deal a lot with marketing. So social media is something that I find myself as an advanced user of. I find myself explaining a lot of different things, a lot of different ways that people can utilize social media to their advantage, but also their disadvantage, how different features of different platforms work. And I would say that I got on the fitness social media trend while it was on the incline, definitely not at the beginning. I think I started my fitness Instagram 3 years ago, like right before the beginning of my first meet prep. So probably December 2014, which is definitely when people were still, were creating their accounts and getting on board. But before that, I was actually on fitness Twitter. Shout out to any of the OGs from fitness Twitter. That was where I did the bulk of my lurking for about 2 years, and kind of made relationships through that platform as well. But something that I've never had trouble with was being myself on Instagram, and I think that's just because I don't see it as something that's gonna lead me anywhere. I usually use my fitness Instagram as somewhere where I post my training videos, and sometimes I post food, and sometimes I post things on there that I just don't want to post on my, what I call my personal Instagram. And I don't know if that's just because people overshare on fitness social media, so I feel more comfortable sharing a little bit extra, or sharing a little bit more often, I think. Whereas like in traditional Instagram world, you don't necessarily share everything, and you don't necessarily share every day. Whereas in the fitness world, if you don't share, what is the benchmark? Like 3 times a week, then you're seen as inactive by the Instagram algorithm, especially utilizing fitness hashtags and other ways in which fitness influencers connect. those people are put at a disadvantage to the algorithm if you don't post more often than if you don't post a story. So it's hard for me to understand how someone could be inauthentic on social media unless it's their business. And I think that's what people really need to understand about where social media is headed, and how powerlifting as a business, unfortunately, is going to be heading in the next couple of years. As powerlifters, we buy a lot of gear, we buy a lot of apparel, we buy a lot of supplements, and I think the fitness industry is slowly turning its head to us because a lot of people who started in the bodybuilding world have turned to the strength sports, because for some reason people think that when they have one problem, they can fix it by ripping off one band-aid and putting on another, which I don't see as the case, and it's not why I got into powerlifting at all. I can share that in another video, but I do think that the fitness industry is turning its head to powerlifting. For instance, Meg Squats just won the bodybuilding.com Smokes Model Search. Meg Squats is one of the powerlifters on YouTube who I do think is making a huge impact and creating a space to where this community can thrive. But that shows that as an industry, fitness and bodybuilding.com, which is a large company with a lot of influence, is turning its head to the strength boards and saying, you know, you are making an impact in this industry. You are buying our product. You are spending money. Let's see what we can do for you. That's why they're sponsoring the USA Powerlifting Raw Nationals and other USA Powerlifting events. And I imagine that that will continue for quite a while. So just thinking about the authenticity of people on the internet as themselves versus the authenticity of people on the internet posing as their business. I think that some businesses do this a lot better than others. Chrissy May Cagney and Donuts and Deadlifts come to mind. Hey Brand Good comes to mind. But there are many, many, many companies who are just utilizing influencers, and as powerlifters gain an aura of influence, naturally the companies are going to turn their heads to powerlifters. So just something to keep in mind as we move forward into the new year and we kind of delve into what powerlifting and the community is going to look like in 2018. How are we going to shape that for ourselves? So for me, that's why I started this channel. I want to be able to speak as a female strength athlete. Certainly not the strongest female strength athlete. Wouldn't call myself weak by any means. I'm excited to be able to share my story and other people's stories with this channel, as well as just, you know, whatever comes to mind. I find myself to be very opinionated, and you'll often see me just kind of rambling about different topics. So I hope that you are excited for this ride. I'm not, I don't know, people have like posting schedules. I'm a full-time human being. I'm hoping like once a week I could post on this channel, if at the very least just a training log with a voiceover, for nothing else, just so I can look back on my own training and see how I've progressed over the last year. I think that will be really cool. While Instagram is a great tool for that, and so is Time Hop, it will be nice to have, you know, kind of a cohesive place where I can post things, as well as meet recaps, things leading up to meet day. So I am excited to take you all along for the ride. If you have any feedback or any suggestions about what I should be featuring on this channel and what you'd like to see, please leave them in the comment section below. I think people are supposed to subscribe to YouTube channels. This is going to be just a place for me to share myself with you all. So if you'd like to subscribe to that, you're more than welcome. You can do the little button that's like down there, like scroll down from the video and click the subscribe button. And I will see you in the next one.